Okay, so now let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about your final multimedia projects. Um, Coming up quite soon on Friday, your proposal and outline for these projects will be due. So we'll talk about what specifically is required for those in a second. But in 2 days, Friday by midnight, your group has to submit a proposal and outline detailing your plans for your project. The final project will be due the following Monday after our last day of class, August 17th at 5 p.m. So the goal here overall is to integrate your research with the research of your group members and come up with a multimedia project that is representative of the work that you all have done in your respective topics, but also greater than the sum of its parts. So you don't need to focus on covering everything that everyone wrote about. You can get creative. You can emphasize one person's work more than another if that feels most interesting or urgent to your group. But everyone should have input. Everyone should make substantive contributions, and you should draw connections from the ways in which your different topics intersect. And you should think about the set of social problems that you all have explored in these projects and how we can go about solving them. So there are going to be four main requirements for this project. The first one is to keep it interesting. So this doesn't need to just be a dry kind of recording of your essays. This should be more creative and exciting and hopefully fun than that. So I encourage you all to use story, narrative, to use engaging anecdotes to draw your reader in, even if that means leaving out some information that was important in your essay that might not make it into the final cut for the multimedia project. There's a useful video here that is about specifically podcasts and how to use narrative and drama to draw a listener into your podcast. The second thing is that you really need to collaborate. Everyone should contribute, and you should try to draw conclusions or arrive at insights that go beyond what you have already argued in your respective essays. Third, propose solutions. Fourth, the goal here is about 10 minutes in length for these projects. Okay, so that's the overview for the final project. The proposal, as I mentioned, is due this Friday. So now I'm going to give you a rundown of what all is due for the proposal. So the proposal is going to have three parts. First, you're going to lay out your genre. So this is fairly simple. What type of multimedia project are you going to make? Is it going to be a podcast, a documentary? Is it going to be dramatic, like a fictional short film? There are lots of options. Here I've laid out like two suggestions, the podcast suggestion and the short documentary film suggestion. These seem very kind of natural given what you all are trying to convey, but there are other options, and I'm open to a variety of different types of multimedia projects. So if you want to do something different, just check in with me. And I think the important thing is that everyone in your group actually feels excited about what you're making, and that you communicate a clear message, and that you also have a good time while making the project. That's really important here too. B, create an outline for your project. So this is going to look a little bit different depending on what your genre is and what your group is doing, but everyone should turn in an outline of between like half a page and 1 page. Think about what the intro hook is going to be. How are you going to draw the reader into whatever you're creating? What techniques are you going to use to present your information? How are you going to keep it interesting? How are you going to organize that information? What solutions will you propose at the end? And anything else that you think is crucial in terms of planning your final project. Okay, so once you have that outline, then you have to figure out how are we actually going to do all the stuff that we've planned. So in order to make sure that this all gets done by the due date and that you all have a successful kind of stress-free experience in creating this project, I want you all to go ahead and divvy out different tasks. This may be messy, it may change or shift over time, but it's important that everyone is contributing substantially. So some people might contribute a lot in certain ways and less in other ways, and that's fine, but everyone should be doing work and everyone should be putting in the time. So who is going to do what? When do certain things need to get done so that the project will be on track? For example, if there's a script for your project and someone in your group is going to be like the primary script writer or the person who's going to organize and edit, writing from your respective essays to adapt them into a script, that person has to get their script done in a timely manner so that whoever is focusing on, say, the podcast production or the audio visuals has time to edit the video or sound file before the due date. So just make sure that you stay on pace and that you have clear due dates and that you know who's doing what and that everyone is contributing to the effort. I also linked a site called Trello here that is super useful when you're working in groups in terms of just like making sure everyone knows what their tasks are and when they're due. So I'd recommend trying that out if you're interested at all.